Welcome back to Panda Audiobooks. The rebellion has survived the graveyard, but the air is now thick with the scent of old blood and broken spirits. In our last episode, Jian Wushuang shattered the hive will of the heavenly sentinels, only to discover the horrifying truth. The sovereign is using the souls of the fallen to create his perfect army. Today, we face the family ghost. Chapters 231 through 235 lead the Star Eater fleet to the Gate of Lamentations, the final barrier before the Eclipse Pillar. Standing guard is a figure Wushuang never expected to see, a Grand Sentinel who bears the face of his long-lost uncle. Is it a clone, a puppet, or has his own family betrayed the legacy of the Sword God? Wushuang must decide if he can strike down his own blood to save his father, all while the gate itself begins to drain the life force of every rebel in the vicinity. The cost of entry is paid in tears. Chapter 231 starts right now. Chapter 231. Weapons divided into 3 grades. Jian Wushuang stirred the body of Triple Kill Sword with his fingers. Yet the Triple Kill Sword, seeming to possess a soul, was trembling slightly. Simultaneously surprised and delighted, he felt waves from the Triple Kill Sword. It seems that the Triple Kill Sword is different from before, Jian Wushuang couldn't help saying. Of course it's different now, Jinling answered while snorting. How could it just be a normal weapon if it is used to enter the ancestors' land? Because it hasn't been involved in battle for several years, its sword spirit was already asleep. I only just woke it up. Sword spirit? Jian Wushuang winced. Little guy, you don't know what sword spirit is? Jinling said and looked to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang nodded. Aren't you ignorant? Jinling smiled and shook his head. Ah yes. The bloodline of Sword Ancestor is on the decline, so their horizon has lowered. Listen up, the Triple Kill Sword is not a normal weapon, but a magic weapon. The weapons are divided into 3 grades. The 3rd grade is normal, the 2nd grade is spiritual while the 1st grade is masterful. Each grade is divided into 3 levels: inferior, medium, and superior. The Triple Kill Sword in your hand is a superior 2nd grade magic weapon. Normally, it possesses a soul, but it has fallen asleep. This happened because when your father fought with the experts, it got hurt. Alas, its power got buried. I have woken up its sword spirit and its power has recovered. But the Triple Kill Sword hasn't completely recovered. It fell down to superior 3rd grade. I see, Jian Wushuang murmured while nodding. Feeling the power of the Triple Kill Sword, he could not help but be shocked. He felt that the Triple Kill Sword was so powerful now. Has it not completely recovered? How can I make it recover to its optimum power? Jian Wushuang asked. I have said that the Triple Kill Sword is a sword of killing, eager for blood. If you want to recover its power, you have to kill others with it as far as possible. The more kills, the more powerful man you kill, the faster it recovers. Even when the Triple Kill Sword recovers to its optimum in the future, continue to use it for kills to improve its grade, Jinling said. I see. Jian Wushuang nodded seriously while holding the Triple Kill Sword tightly, with a glimmer of expectation. Jian Wushuang imagined a scene of the Triple Kill Sword at its optimum and stronger than ever before. In fact, not only the magic weapons are divided into 3 grades, but also origin manuals, Jinling suddenly said. Oh. Jian Wushuang looked towards her. Jinling continued. The origin manual is also divided into 3 grades while each grade is divided into 3 levels: inferior, medium and superior. Just like the 2 original sword techniques you got, the selfless sword technique and blood emptying technique. The selfless sword technique is the medium 3rd grade manual. The blood emptying technique is superior 3rd grade. Jinling stopped and looked at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang had a serious look on his face. He didn't know that the magic weapons and origin manuals were divided into 3 grades until now. In my opinion, the selfless sword technique and blood emptying technique are very powerful. The blood emptying technique is a sword skill on the 3rd grade. What about the 2nd grade sword technique or the 1st grade sword technique? Jian Wushuang said with shock. The 3rd grade sword skill was also powerful. Wouldn't the power of the 2nd grade sword technique and 1st grade sword technique be more shocking? If a manual is the 3rd grade, its power is incredible. In fact, many origin manuals are of low quality. The selfless sword technique and blood emptying technique you have are very good and useful enough for you. Even the elders of divine transcendence can't possess the second grade or first grade sword skill. Of course, if you reach the level of divine transcendence, come back to the ancestors' land and pass the test. Then you will get a chance to gain the second grade sword technique. Jinling smiled and said. Jian Wushuang fell silent. Divine transcendence? His strength was enhanced by the cultivation of spiritual power from Purple Crystal Lake, but he just reached the peak of the Yin Void Realm. There was a long way for him to reach divine transcendence. The level was hard to break out of. Okay, I have already said what I have to. You may leave. When you've reached the level of divine transcendence, make your return, Jinling said. Thank you. Jian Wushuang expressed his gratitude and was led away by Mu Shan. He then left the ancestors' land by wormhole. In dark forest, a figure abruptly shot up to the sky while the strong air swept across, breaking up the silence of this place. Half of a year. Jian Wushuang clenched his fists, curling up a smile. Previously, when he stayed in the ancestors' land for 2 years, he made great progress. Although he stayed only half a year this time, his progress was more apparent. His cultivation of spiritual power was directly stepped into the peak of the Yin Void Realm from the exceptional Gold Core Realm, which was breaking through 4 realms. At the same time, he also understood slaughter origin and entered the way of killing. Having meditated for a month in Rainstorm Palace, his world origin and slaughter origin had greatly improved. The same went for his swordsmanship. It was certain that his strength had experienced a radical improvement within half of a year. Half a year ago, I went to the ancestors' land directly after returning from the easternmost hunting. I don't know how the Qianzong dynasty has been like in the half year, Jian Wushuang murmured. I must be steady. I am cultivating the heavenly creation skill. When I step into the yin-yang void realm, I would meet with the yin and yang breaking. But how am I to break it? Immediately, Jian Wushuang found a place in the dark forest, sat down and then began to operate the heavenly creation skill. All the movements of the heavenly creation skill were unbelievable and different. As for the 9th heaven of divine path, the ultimate spiritual sea, and the supreme golden pill realm, each step was much powerful than a common warrior. As a counterpart to the yin-yang void realm, the yin and yang breaking naturally was bound to be different. Jian Wushuang sat and studied for a long time. Finally, he understood the yin and yang breaking. Jian Wushuang operated his spiritual power. As it went on, there was a strong spiritual power that gradually broke out from his body. In the spiritual power, there was a shadow. The shadow was like a baby, but its volume was small. As the shadow appeared in the void, the vast expanse of spiritual power of heaven and earth gathered toward it, swaddling it like a baby. As more spiritual power gathered together, a figure whose bodyline or appearance was the same as Jian Wushuang appeared next to him. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes. Looking at the other man who looked just like him, his lips could not help but curl into a smile. The yin-yang doppelganger is here. Chapter 232, Yin and Yang Breaking. The way of martial arts, the 7th realm of spirit path, transforming sea from spiritual power, primordial golden pill realm, yin-yang void realm and divine transcendence. In the yin-yang void realm, there would be a change from the original primordial golden pill realm to a nascent soul. The nascent soul would then absorb spiritual power, the core of a warrior. The way that heavenly creation skill reached the yin-yang void realm was to change from gold core to nascent soul. There were not 1 but 2 nascent souls. One of them dominated the self and the other reconstructed the body, making up the yin-yang doppelganger. This was the yin and yang breaking. Jian Wushuang already forged his yin-yang doppelganger. Not only the body and appearance, but the cultivation of spiritual power was exactly like him. The only difference was their thoughts. Even though the yin-yang doppelganger was dominated by the self, each persona could possess an independent consciousness. In other words, the doppelganger was able to get out, experience and train independently or meditate the sword essence and the origin, which would never bother the self. This meant that a person became 2 persons. For the yin-yang doppelganger, the self was a root. As long as the self was alive, the doppelganger never died. Even if the doppelganger was killed, it still could be forged again by the self. A frightening ability. The frightening supernatural skill. Jian Wushuang looked excitedly to his yin-yang doppelganger with eyes full of wonder. Doppelganger. An independent consciousness. The doppelganger could understand the origin and have an adventure by itself. Previously, a person would meditate and cultivate alone, but it was two people doing the job at the same time now. Thus, the speed of cultivation naturally doubled. The doppelganger and the self could be divided and also reintegrated with each other. After Jian Wushuang used his mind to give an order, his yin-yang doppelganger began to slowly approach him. It merged with him, and then separated from him. The separated yin-yang doppelganger became increasingly ruthless and brutal, emanating a scary killing intent. Conversely, Jian Wushuang's aura became easygoing and tolerant. The self stood with the yin-yang doppelganger. One embraced everything. The other killed the world. They had completely different aura. If not the same appearance, they would not be considered the same person. From today, the yin-yang doppelganger will focus on meditating slaughter origin while I meditate world origin. We work in cooperation with a division of labor, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. The yin-yang doppelganger could separate his meditation into two parts. Now, the self of Jian Wushuang had no meditation over slaughter origin, merely the meditation over world origin. The self meditated world origin while the doppelganger meditated slaughter origin. They each had a task to do. However, if the two are integrated, the self could perform both meditations. The special ability made Jian Wushuang greatly surprised. With the yin-yang doppelganger, it would be much more convenient for him in the future. Not only was it useful in meditating the origin, but also many other things that the self failed to do. With the doppelganger, he could even explore some risky place. After all, if the doppelganger died, the self could forge another one. It all needed just some time and energy. It was a pity that if Jian Wushuang broke through the Yin Void Realm, his Supreme Gold Core realm strength would be substantially weakened. His Supreme Gold Core allowed his spiritual power to improve 100-fold. However, after Supreme Gold Core became the nascent soul, the outbreak of spiritual power only improved by a dozen. Jian Wushuang could also do nothing about this. It was similar to the situation when he broke through the transforming sea realm and reached the Gold Core realm. While he was in the transforming sea realm, he was a warrior with ultimate spiritual sea. His spiritual power was endless. When he reached the Supreme Gold Core realm, his spiritual power was just weakened to 10 times of normal warriors. When I reach the peak of the Yin Void realm, my outbreak of spiritual power is 10 times of the counterpart. It is equivalent to the top of initial Yang Void realm, even stronger and comparable with the profound Yang Void realm, Jian Wushuang said to himself. Only the outbreak of power is comparable to the profound Yang Void realm. Adding to the meditation of the sword essence and origin, he was far stronger than the one in the profound Yang Void realm. As for how strong it was, he did not know. He needed to fight with a suitable expert. Only then would he find out the strength. Go back to the Qianzong dynasty. Jian Wushuang moved his body and then went forward to the other side of the dark forest, at Qiannan province. In a short moment, he set off. Zoom! Jian Wushuang suddenly stopped on a void and looked down. There was a fierce battle taking place on the ground. It was normal to battle in a place like the dark forest as it had many spirit beasts and was suitable for warriors to train. Jian Wushuang was not concerned over the battle, but he chose to stop because he recognized the uniform worn by one of the experts that he once saw at the 9 Emperors sect. The 9 Emperors sect. Jian Wushuang mumbled and raised his eyebrows. It was a fierce battle on the ground. Ha ha, little girl, come with us. If I catch you, I don't think the fat guy in the pavilion of raindrops wouldn't surrender to us. A purple-haired elder gave an insidious smile and said coolly. In front of him, there was a coquettish lady with the graceful figure. The coquettish lady's beautiful face looked chilling at this moment, and she clenched her teeth, thrusting at her enemies with a blood-red spear. The coquettish lady was attacked by the 3 men whose cultivation of spiritual power was not weaker than her. Although the coquettish lady gave all her might, she was still completely suppressed by them. She would fail sooner or later. There were multiple corpses laying next to her. The corpses were the lady's teammates. Kai! A sword flew past and the coquettish lady was cut with a bloody gash on her arm. A sharp jabbing pain of her arm made her palm loose. The The blood-red spear fell to the ground, but she still desperately continued fighting back. Jie, you are really tenacious, the glum elder smiled coolly and said. Several experts of the Nine Emperors sect stood beside him, watching with interest. For them, the coquettish lady was already doomed. However, at this point, whoosh! A figure appeared suddenly in front of the coquettish lady. The three men were shocked, but their power was unabated. Jian Wushuang looked coolly. Seeing the three forces move fiercely toward him, he did not react. Suddenly, his body formed a strong wind, sweeping from the ground. The three forces immediately fell apart, and even the three experts of the Gold Core realm who jointly attacked the coquettish lady were forced to fall back due to the puff of wind. Who is it? You are courting death. Where did the boy come from? You dare to meddle in the affairs of the Nine Emperors sect? With several snapping sounds going off, the glum expert and his people charged forward and attacked Jian Wushuang without any words. Jian Wushuang did not show his move. The moment he raised his head, a terrifying killing intent gushed from his body. Chapter 233, Pavilion of Raindrops. A sinister killing intent filled the air. Transparent blades made of pure spiritual power suddenly emerged from the air in front of Jian Wushuang. These transparent blades flew out swiftly and smoothly across the void, appearing in front of the glum elder. What? The glum elder could not react in time at all. Kai! 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 The transparent blade easily penetrated body after body. The glum elder and his people widened their eyes and then fell to the ground. In just a moment, the experts from the Nine Emperors sect were all killed. The coquettish lady was stunned. But Jian Wushuang did not care at all. Turning around, he looked at the coquettish lady and asked, I overheard from these people that you are from the Pavilion of Raindrops? Yes. The coquettish lady nodded. Then let me ask you, what is your relationship with Tang Wuji from the Pavilion of Raindrops? Jian Wushuang inquired. Tang Wuji? He is my brother. He is now the pavilion master of the Pavilion of Raindrops, answered the coquettish lady. You are the sister of Tang Wuji? Jian Wushuang's face had unbelief written all over it. Tang Wuji was a person Jian Wushuang met during the Eastermist hunting. Back then, he knew that Tang Wuji was from the Pavilion of Raindrops. He had also heard that the place had been destroyed by the Nine Emperors sect. Tang Wuji was definitely a big, fat, ugly man. Therefore, it was hard to imagine that his sister could be so beautiful with a figure that was even more enchanting. Now, things are getting interesting. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. The Pavilion of Raindrops was well known all throughout the city. A few years ago, the Pavilion of Raindrops held a lot of influence in the Qiannan province. They were especially outstanding in the providing information. However, later news spread that the Pavilion of Raindrops angered the Nine Emperors sect who later destroyed it. Just half a year ago, the Pavilion of Raindrops' young master Tang Wuji returned and spent a great deal of money to rebuild the pavilion. The newly constructed Pavilion of Raindrops was much stronger than before. In the headquarters of the Pavilion of Raindrops lay a secret chamber. Gentlemen, the Nine Emperors sect are invading fiercely. We must use all our might to deal with them. Otherwise, if we are careless, the Pavilion of Raindrops will die an irrevocable death, the stocky middle-aged man Tang Wuji said in a low tone. Pavilion Master, in my personal opinion, let us accept the Ouyang clan's request. With the Ouyang clan supporting us, we do not have to worry at all about the Nine Emperors sect, a man with dashing eyebrows said in a low tone. Agree to the Ouyang clan's requests? Impossible. Tang Wuji shook his head decisively. If it was only a matter of listening or following their orders, I would still consider. But to admit the Pavilion of Raindrops into the Dark Hall of the Ouyang clan is out of the question. Even if the Pavilion of Raindrops were to disappear right at this moment, I still would never agree to the Ouyang clan's conditions. Tang Wuji's eyes flickered seriously and his voice was as strong as steel. He had no trace of indecisiveness. At this precise moment, the door to the secret chamber suddenly opened. A servant of the Pavilion of Raindrops walked in and greeted respectfully. Pavilion Master, Miss Xue has returned. She mentioned that a man has come to find you. Previously, when Miss Xue was in the Dark Forest, she was attacked by experts from the Nine Emperors sect. It was this man who saved Miss Shuai. Ha! Tang Wuji tremored, his gaze burning with irritation. The 9 emperors are so despicable. They even dared to send people to catch my sister. Let Shuai and her savior in. Yes, master. The servant promptly retreated to complete his order. Not long after, the coquettish lady and Jian Wushuang walked into the secret chamber together. Shuai. Tang Wuji could not help but smile upon seeing the coquettish lady. Brother, the coquettish lady ran hastily to Tang Wuji and said, I almost fell into the hands of the 9 emperors sect this time, but he saved me. You have to thank him as well on my behalf. Is it so? Tang Wuji said with a smile, casting his gaze on Jian Wushuang. Taking a look, Tang Wuji could not believe his eyes. You are, elder brother? Tang Wuji's voice was so agitated that he started stuttering. Tang Wuji, long time no see. Jian Wushuang's face cracked into a smile. Ha ha, boss, it really is you. Tang Wuji laughed heartily and embraced Jian Wushuang. He subsequently pulled Jian Wushuang to sit in front of the wooden table in the secret chamber. With a wave of his hand, the table was filled with delicious wine and food. Boss, we haven't seen each other in more than half a year. I think about you even when I'm dreaming, Tang Wuji said. Can you not be so mushy? Jian Wushuang winked at Tang Wuji. Ha ha, let's have a drink first. Tang Wuji began to pour Jian Wushuang some wine. Tang Shuai and the guests of Pavilion of Raindrops watched this scene unfold with shocked incomprehension. Boss. Tang Wuji looked like he was at least 40 years old, yet Jian Wushuang looked like he was in his 20s. The age gap was so large, yet Tang Wuji called Jian Wushuang his boss? This form of address inevitably made them feel quite weird. Tang Wuji, it seems like you are doing quite well, aren't you? Jian Wushuang drank a cup of wine and cast an interested glance at Tang Wuji. Ha ha, all thanks to you, boss. Tang Wuji smiled. Back then when we parted at the easternmost plain, didn't you give me a bit of money, boss? That much of money was an enormous amount compared to the wealth accumulated by the Pavilion of Raindrops. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. When he parted with Tang Wuji at the easternmost plain, he did indeed give Tang Wuji an amount of money which he won from killing numerous Yin Void experts at the easternmost plain. As for the exact amount of money he gained, he did not count. But he was sure it was not a small sum. I took that bag of money, returned to the Qianzong dynasty, and returned to Qiannan province. I immediately gathered all the old departments in the Pavilion of Raindrops and used only half a month to reconstruct the place. Subsequently, I spent another substantial amount of money to invite a few Yin Void guests whom you now see before you. Tang Wuji pointed to the Yin Void experts. With the help of these guests, my Pavilion of Raindrops rose to power again. Within the short span of 2 months, the Pavilion of Raindrops now holds an influential position in the Qiannan province. In the future, I have plans to establish contact with the Ouyang clan. With the backing of the Ouyang clan, the growth of my Pavilion of Raindrops will naturally speed up, Tang Wuji said. It looks very impressive. But when I first arrived, everyone seemed very worried. Jian Wushuang smiled. Alarmed, Tang Wuji looked awkwardly and sighed. My Pavilion of Raindrops may have risen, but the 9 Emperors sect that destroyed the Pavilion of Raindrops in the past now has plans of attacking us. Over the past 6 months, my Pavilion of Raindrops has never had any conflicts with the 9 Emperors sect. As we have the support of the Ouyang clan, we are on an equal footing with the 9 Emperors sect. But yesterday, the 9 Emperors sect seemed to have gone crazy. They actually dared to spread the news that they will destroy my Pavilion of Raindrops in 3 days. Chapter 234. I will help you. Oh. Jian Wushuang couldn't help but be surprised. Back then he led many Golden Dragon ambassadors to attack the 9 Emperors sect, wounding it heavily. It had not even been a year, it was impossible that the 9 Emperors sect recovered now. Even as the 9 Emperors sect knew of the Ouyang clan's support for the Pavilion of Raindrops, they still had the guts to claim that they would destroy it within 3 days. If it was not for the Blood Feather Tower's involvement, the 9 Emperors sect would not be so daring themselves. Tang Wuji said in a low voice, initially, we were not bothered that the 9 Emperors sect were about to attack. As our pavilion had the backing of the Ouyang clan, there was nothing to worry about. But we did not expect that just when the Nine Emperors sect announced their plan to attack, the Ouyang clan receded their support. The Ouyang clan said that unless my pavilion of raindrops merges with their dark hall, they would not help us block the Nine Emperors sect's attack. They may say it is a merger, but they actually meant to swallow my pavilion of raindrops as a whole. Is that so? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. Then what do you plan to do now? We will play by ear. Regardless of what happens, I will never agree to the conditions raised by the Ouyang clan. Pavilion Master. A guest by the side furrowed his eyebrows. I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded his head slightly and looked at Tang Wuji with a smile. Tang Wuji, you don't have to worry about the Ouyang clan. The might of the Nine Emperors sect cannot be underestimated. Even if the Ouyang clan were to turn up, there is still a chance that they cannot stop them. Ha! Jian Wushuang winced. But don't worry. I happen to have a bit of a grudge against the Nine Emperors sect and I wish to seek revenge, so I will help you, Jian Wushuang said. Boss, you will help me? Tang Wuji rejoiced. Back then during the Eastermost hunting, Tang Wuji could attest to the strength of Jian Wushuang. In addition, his pavilion of raindrops' successful reconstruction was also due to his relationship with Jian Wushuang, so Tang Wuji had absolute faith in Jian Wushuang. Rest assured that with my help, that Nine Emperors sect would definitely be unable to snatch your pavilion of raindrops away from you, Jian Wushuang said with a confident laughter. Just when he finished speaking, the guests at the side were immediately dissatisfied. Thud. Oh, what an arrogant tone. A black-clothed elder smacked the table, stood up, glared at Jian Wushuang and said in a low tone, Kid, although I don't know what your relationship with our pavilion master is, but what you've just made clear is as good as sending the pavilion of raindrops to death. With your young age, how can you understand the power of the Nine Emperors sect? Forget the others. If we only talk about the experts of the Yin Void Realm, the Nine Emperors sect will have less than 5 people. In addition, their upper elder recently surpassed their level and attained the Yang Void Realm. Such tyrannical strength is enough to sweep the pavilion of raindrops away. At this moment of life and death, what my pavilion of raindrops needs to do is to craft ways to secure the Ouyang clan's support again. It is only with the Ouyang clan's support that we can promise safety and peace for the pavilion of raindrops. Although the Ouyang clan's condition is slightly harsh, merging with their dark hall, in my opinion, is not necessarily a bad thing. Now you dare to advise the pavilion master to abandon the Ouyang clan and completely believe in you? You're just an insignificant fellow. How can you be capable enough and boldly say that the Nine Emperors sect will not conquer the pavilion of raindrops? What a joke. What a... Before the black-clothed elder could finish speaking, Jian Wushuang, who sat peacefully at the side, raised his head suddenly. The moment he looked up, rumble. Slaughter origin exploded and a fearful killing intent swept out. Immediately, the entire secret chamber became dead silent. Not only was it dead silent, but the atmosphere was as chilly as winter. The black-clothed elder at this moment stopped speaking. He widened eyes and stared at Jian Wushuang in shock. It was not only him, the other guests at the Pavilion of Raindrops were also gazing at Jian Wushuang with an extremely frightened expression. Jian Wushuang had comprehended slaughter origin, the way of killing, so his killing intent was quite strong and frightening. Although the guests were all Yin Void experts, they were only in the initial Yin Void realm. With the explosion of Jian Wushuang's killing intent, they immediately felt suffocated, as if there was a sword pointing at their throats. The black-clothed elder felt a swelling in his throat. The words that have reached his mouth were swallowed back at this moment. Horror. Fear. Everyone's gaze was fixed on Jian Wushuang. Just faced with the outburst of killing intent, they all felt genuine fear in their hearts. If this black-clothed young man were to really fight, then what would happen? Boss. Tang Wuji looked at Jian Wushuang in shock. Jian Wushuang still held his bowl of wine and swirled the wine gently. The explosive killing intent slowly withdrew. Someone has come, Jian Wushuang said peacefully. Ha! Jian Wushuang winced. The doors of the secret chamber suddenly opened. A man wearing a luxurious robe walked in with a big smile. Mr. Ouyang. Mr. Ouyang. Once the guests in the Pavilion of Raindrops saw this middle-aged man, they immediately greeted him humbly. Pavilion Master Tang, how is your consideration process coming along? The middle-aged man did not bother with the guests. After entering the secret chamber, he went and sat down on a chair, showing signs of familiarity. Tang Wuji smiled and looked at him. Mr. Ouyang, my word still remains. If you want my pavilion of raindrops to submit to your Ouyang clan, that isn't a problem at all. But if you want my pavilion of raindrops to merge with the Ouyang clan's dark hall, then that is impossible, Tang Wuji said coldly. The middle-aged man's grin immediately fell after hearing Tang Wuji's words. Tang Wuji, I take you as pavilion master, so I just call you Master Tang. But you don't cherish the chance. Submitting to our clan? My Ouyang clan is one of Qianzhong dynasty's 7 sects. Even the most powerful sect would compete to submit to us. With our powerful status, do we even need your pavilion? To tell the truth, my clan's initial support for your pavilion was because we affirmed your pavilion's intelligence capabilities. Without our clan, you think with your own measly muscles, your pavilion of raindrops could be so successful within the short span of 6 months? Listen, you'd better obediently merge your pavilion with the Dark Hall. Then you will have a chance to live. If not. Tang Wuji had an uneasy expression. Jian Wushuang, who stood by the side, began to laugh. Ha ha, the Ouyang clan, one of the 7 sects in the Qianzhong dynasty, takes advantage of others' precarious situation? The middle-aged man cast a cold glance at Jian Wushuang. Where did you come from, kid? I was speaking to Tang Wuji. How dare you interrupt? Get out of my way. As he finished speaking, the middle-aged man waved his hand, a gust of spiritual power gathering in his palms. Then he directly struck a blow to Jian Wushuang. This middle-aged man had a cultivation of the profound Yin Void realm. Under his attack, even a man like Tang Wuji, who was in the exceptional Gold Core realm, would have died. At this moment, Jian Wushuang still held his bowl of wine, but his gaze became cold. Chapter 235. He moved? Thud. With his right hand still lightly swirling the bowl of wine, Jian Wushuang reached out to the middle-aged man's wrist with his left hand. It was like a huge pair of pliers in action as Jian Wushuang exerted significant strength. Crack. Sounds of bones cracking traveled through the air. The middle-aged man's face turned red, like the color of a pig liver. His mouth was opened as if he wanted to say something. Jian Wushuang gave him a tight slap. Slap. Bang. The crisp sound resounded and the middle-aged man was seen flying through the air. He crashed painfully against the wall of the secret chamber. The walls trembled for a while, and the man slowly slid off the wall. Tang Wuji and the guests at the pavilion were standing at the side, shocked by the sight that just unfolded before their eyes. This middle-aged man was Xianxia. He is an expert of the Ouyang clan who had reached the profound Yin Void realm. Notably, the guests in attendance were the most powerful ones of Pavilion of Raindrops, who reached the initial Yin Void realm. They treated Xianxia with the highest respect. But what about now? With a single stroke, Xianxia had been seen sent flying through the air like a dead dog. The guests were shocked and looked at Jian Wushuang in disbelief. The black-clothed elder was even more grateful that Jian Wushuang did not pick on him earlier. If not, Xianxia was completely blown away. Jian Wushuang stood up and walked towards Xianxia stealthily, casting a cold gaze at him. When you go back, tell your clan leader that from today onwards, the Pavilion of Raindrops will no longer associate with the Ouyang clan. If your clan is unhappy, come and find me. Or maybe when the experts of the 9 Emperors sect fight 2 days later, your clan can attack too. I do not mind clearing this mess altogether. Get lost. Jian Wushuang waved his hand. Xianxia stood up and glared at Jian Wushuang with his fists clenched. His gaze was full of spite. Good. What Pavilion of Raindrops? Wait. Just you wait. 2 days later, I want to see your pavilion will kneel before the experts of the 9 Emperors sect and beg for mercy. Xianxia cursed as he left. Mr. Ouyang. The guests were worried, trying to retain him. Tang Wuji was the only one with furrowed eyebrows, keeping silent from beginning to the end. Just after Xianxia left, a few guests began to sigh. We're doomed. This time, it's the end for my Pavilion of Raindrops. Not only did we not get the help from the Ouyang clan, we even harshly offended them. How am I supposed to fight against the experts of the Nine Emperors sect 2 days later? The guests had all lost hope. Tang Wuji remained silent, but he was staring at Jian Wushuang with a bright gaze. Tang Wuji, do you believe me? Jian Wushuang looked at Tang Wuji and asked. Yes. Tang Wuji nodded without hesitation. That's enough. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly and sat down to continue drinking without saying much. That night, a stealthy black shadow took advantage of the darkness and crept into the Nine Emperors sect. Even though the security was tight, sneaking in was no kick for Jian Wushuang's ability. Hidden within the Nine Emperors sect was the courtyard near the mountain. Jian Wushuang appeared in the void above the courtyard. Overlooking the emptiness, his facial expression remained. Indeed, father is no longer here. Jian Wushuang had predicted this, but could not help but be disappointed. The courtyard was once used to imprison his father. Jian Wushuang had brought a group of Golden Dragon ambassadors to destroy the place but was unable to save him. Since his father's location was exposed, seeing as to how the Blood Feather Tower valued his father, they would have naturally moved him elsewhere immediately. But Jian Wushuang had no idea where they moved him to. After confirming that his father had been moved, Jian Wushuang turned and left. When he passed by the meeting hall of the Nine Emperors sect, he stopped moving and looked inside. That person. Jian Wushuang saw a weathered elder who was leaning on a dragon-headed crutch and had smiling eyes. This weathered elder was not an expert of Nine Emperors sect, but now he was treated with unwavering attention, being surrounded by many experts themselves. Even Mo Feng, the upper elder who had already achieved the initial Yang Void Realm, was sitting beside the weathered elder. He looked very respectful. To be respected by the experts like this means that this is a big character. It could be one of the experts from the highest level. Jian Wushuang guessed silently. In that instant, the weathered elder who had been quietly sitting down in the meeting hall suddenly opened his smiling eyes and disappeared without a trace. The next moment, he appeared in the void that Jian Wushuang was at. But it was so quiet with not a single trace of human touch. Was it an illusion? The weathered elder murmured and returned to the meeting hall. In a void not far away, Jian Wushuang witnessed this with furrowed brows. Not bad, this old guy could detect my presence. 2 days later, also the day the Nine Emperors sect mentioned. Early this morning, when the sun first broke into the sky, a large number of experts from the Nine Emperors sect swarmed into action. 4 Yin Void experts and the upper elder, who had reached the initial Yang Void Realm, were in action. Other than that, there were also a huge number of disciples of the primordial Gold Core Realm. It can be said that almost all of those in the Nine Emperors sect were out in action. My Nine Emperors sect has suffered from depletion of strength ever since Jian Wushuang's previous attack. My position in the 3 sects and 4 schools has not been stable. Various sects of the Qiannan province are now waiting to replace us after we have fallen. Too bad that their dreams will soon be shattered. Today's battle is key in proving the strength of the Nine Emperors sect. There is no room for mistakes. We must cleanly wipe out the Pavilion of Raindrops and let everyone know we cannot be challenged by just anyone. Are you clear? Mo Feng, upper elder of Nine Emperors sect, howled at the surrounding elders. Yes, they replied in unison. Mo Feng nodded slightly and looked towards the weathered elder who was standing in the crowd and leaning against his crutch. The elders of the Nine Emperors sect were all hyped and ready to fight. Only this elder remained as calm as usual. Mr. Ku, we will need you to stay back and be the backup, Mo Feng said. The weathered elder looked up at Mo Feng and said hoarsely, I will only fight against those from the Ouyang clan that may show up. As for that Pavilion of Raindrops, I will leave it to you all. No problem, it is only the Pavilion of Raindrops. They are no match for our Nine Emperors sect. Mo Feng grinned and waved. Set off. The experts of the Nine Emperors sect immediately set off. And with the groaning of the ancient hinges, we conclude chapter 235. The Gate of Lamentations has finally been breached, but the cost was staggering. Wushuang's encounter with the Grand Sentinel has left him shaken, and the rebellion's numbers have been halved by the gate's soul drain. But there is no time to mourn. Beyond the gate lies the abyssal corridor, a direct path to the base of the Eclipse Pillar. The Divine Sovereign has stopped sending puppets, He is finally descending from his throne to handle this nuisance personally. Join us next time for chapters 236 through 240, as Wushuang enters the abyssal corridor and faces the first of the three primal sovereigns in a battle that will tear the fabric of reality. Thank you for listening to Panda Audiobooks. If that family reveal shocked you as much as it did Wushuang, hit that like button, subscribe, and tell us, is Wushuang's uncle really a traitor?